That's what we're making today. We're making glazed donuts. We'll start with the yeast. Okay, so get a small bowl. I've still got my yeast, but remember, if you don't have the packet yeast, you can use the ones in the bottles. I think it's 2 1/4. I think one of these is equivalent to 2 1/4 teaspoons of the ones that you'll find in the bottle, or the ones in the packet, like this one here. Okay, so you just need to times it by 4. Okay, so if the recipe says 4, which this one does, okay, then I think it's almost 10 teaspoons of the normal yeast. Okay, so 4 of these packets. Just empty it into a little bowl. Let me just, there we go. Okay, and a little bit of sugar, so maybe a couple of tablespoons of sugar, just to activate our yeast. Okay, just a couple of those. And then 3/4 of a cup of warm water. 3/4 of a cup. Okay, throw it in there. Give it a little mix. And then put it aside to do its thing. Okay, and then we'll start on the dry ingredients. Okay, so if you don't want the glaze, you can just still have this as a sweet donut without the glaze. So if you do, then you can use 2 cups of sugar. Okay, otherwise just use a cup of sugar. Okay, because the glaze is what sweetens it. So we'll just we'll do one. What are you doing in my kitchen, Tater? Trying to steal a donut. This is my lovely husband, Tater. Leave my donuts. Okay, so 1 cup of sugar. And then get some milk going. So it's 3 cups of milk. Like I said, the recipe is exactly the same as the sweet rolls, the coconut buns, the pani popo, all of that. It's all the same. Okay, the only bread that differs to the ingredients I've got here is the coconut bread. Okay, so we've got 3 cups of milk. Put that on the heat. So what we'll do is we'll wait until the milk is warm. We'll pour it into our sugar, and once the yeast has risen, then we'll add that to our mix as well. So you'll notice with our yeast, it's almost doubled in size. Okay, it should be frothy like this. It should be, yeah. If your yeast is not rising and there's no froth, then you need to start again. Okay, it doesn't happen all the time that you could get a bad batch of yeast. It's happened to me a couple of times, so yeah, just keep an eye out for that. Okay, so our milk is all good. Okay, there's just enough heat to touch, so we'll just pour that in there. Okay, so now I add the yeast. Now it's 1/2 cup of, you can use any oil. I prefer vegetable oil, but to fry, canola oil is the better oil to use for frying. Okay, so we'll go 1/2 cup. Okay, and 4 eggs. Okay, so you give that a mix. Break up the egg yolks. Okay, now you can use any flour. Okay, you can use plain flour. Just don't use self-raising flour because there's already yeast in there. So yeah, you obviously don't need to have your donuts rise twice. So lucky I got, my sister was able to, she gave me her baker's flour. I'll show you what it looks like. That's her 20 kg baker's flour. Okay, so because I've used up all my high grade, I'm going to use baker's flour. I actually prefer baker's flour. Now, the same method as the rolls. So you put 2 cups in at a time, work it, and then another 2. Okay, so yeah, as I mentioned, just put 2 cups in at a time. Work that in there, and then just keep adding the 2 cups at a time, just so that it's well mixed in. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you've got one of those mixers, then use the, you know, the mixers. But, you know, I'm pretty old school, so. Now, the reason why I say to add the, you know, 2 cups at a time, if you put in all your cups of flour, you might find that it will be too dry and you won't be able to mix in your dough properly. So I just said just mix it in a couple of cups at a time. You probably will find that you won't need all those cups of flour, but you know, just in case. See, a lot of people will just knead it, you know, for 10-15 minutes. I'm quite impatient. I like to do it real quick, so I just do it in the bowl. So you can put it into a greased bowl, or you could do what I do here and just put a little bit of oil around here, and then why waste all those extra bowls when you can just do it all in one bowl, yeah? Okay, see, it's nice and greasy to me. Okay, then you cover it, and then you put it somewhere warm. I put it on top of the element, and it takes about maybe 30 to 45 minutes for it to double in size. Okay, you shouldn't leave it for, I mean, an hour is good, but don't leave it for any longer than that. Okay, so I'll just put it aside, and because I'm the best tutor, hello, I did one earlier. Okay, so you'll see it's risen, it's actually doubled in size. Okay, so what I'll do is just flour your bench, pour out the dough. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flour the rest of my bench here, just so that I can roll out the dough. Okay. Now, while you're doing this, you can actually turn your oil on just to heat it up. So I'll just turn my oil on now. Okay, I've put in 4 litres of oil, and then what I do is this is the part I don't like because it's messy. It's the only time you'll see flour on me. Okay, so what we do is we get the rolling pin. Now this is where some of you might go wrong. Okay, you need to, when you roll it out like a pizza. Okay, but don't make it too thin. Okay, I think this is This is exact, I don't know if you can see it. That's the thickness that you should have it. Okay, see how thick that is? Okay. You don't want to get it too thin, okay? Because if it's too thin, then it's just going to look like little mini frisbees, and we don't want that, okay? Now, if you don't have a cookie cutter, breaking my neck doing this, okay? If you don't have a cookie cutter, you can use a glass. When I first started doing donuts many years ago, I used a glass. They do have donut cutters, but I prefer to use a cookie cutter. So I just use this one, and don't laugh, I use a prescription, one of those pill bottles, okay? And that's for my middle. That's for the middle of the donut, the little hole, okay? So then I'll put you back down here so you can have a look. Okay, so what I do is I just go around, I cut, just spread them out. See, look how thick the dough is. It should be thick like that, okay? Now, don't throw away the offcuts. You can actually reuse it. So that's exactly what I do. I use every single bit of the dough. So now the holes, see? Now normally with this batch, you can make maybe 30, 35, 36, depending on how thick you've rolled out your dough. You'll see the donuts, okay? They haven't totally risen yet. See this one here, you'll see, hang on, what's a good example? That one there, this one. See, I mean, even though it looks thick, it actually hasn't risen, okay? These ones here have started rising, you can see, okay? So it's just as important to leave these ones here to rise, okay? So don't rush your donuts, because if you put it straight into the frying pan, it's not going to be as fluffy as what it should be, okay? It will actually be a bit hard, okay? So be patient with them, leave them to rise maybe 15 minutes. They don't take long, but it's worth the wait, okay? So we'll leave it for maybe a couple of minutes. I'll show you my oil, okay? It's not to temperature yet. You can use it in the, you can fry it in a fry pan or in a pot. I just find that it's easier to do it in in an electric fry pan. Yeah, we'll wait for the oil to heat up. Now the oil should be hot, okay? Not like really, really, like, don't turn it up like really, really hot. But there should be enough heat, because if it's too hot, then it will burn, your oil will burn, and when it burns, it will burn your donuts, okay? But if it's too low, if you have the heat too low, your donut's going to be drenched in the oil, and you don't want that, because they should only take less than a minute on each side, okay? So while that's doing its thing, we'll quickly do the glaze, okay? So I did some glaze earlier on with that first lot of donuts that I made. It's gone a little bit, it's kind of dried up, so we'll just add to it. So it's just 50 grams of butter, a packet of the icing sugar, and vanilla essence. Put some vanilla essence in there, a couple of drops. Okay, my melted butter, just going to add that in there. Okay, now with the, let me put the icing sugar in first. Okay, so just one packet in there. Then the hot water. Now you notice I didn't give you a measurement for the hot water. The trick is just pour in a little bit at a time. Let me just bring it this way. So just pour in a little at a time, okay? If you put too much hot water, then you'll have a very watery glaze and it'll be, yeah, not as nice, okay? The best glaze is one that looks like a syrup. Okay, so you can see you've got to try and break up the lumps of icing sugar that's in there. It shouldn't be thick, okay? It shouldn't be runny and it shouldn't be thick. But this is just perfect, look at that, okay? So what we'll do is we'll... See, these ones here have risen, you can see. There's little holes in them, so you know that they have actually risen, they're ready to go in the fry pan, okay? This one, not so much, okay? This one, not so much. So what I do is I start with the ones that have risen, and I put them in the fry pan, okay? So that's what it looks like. See, that one's perfect, look at that. Okay, chuck that in there. Okay, so you just now leaving it to do its thing. Like I said, it only takes a minute, less than a minute per side. Now, a lot of people use tongs to get donuts out of the pan. I don't use tongs. I use skewers. Okay, so and that's pretty much it. I know there's a lot of work that goes into the donuts, but well worth it. Now with the glaze, I know the donut places they glaze both sides. Oh, it's sickly sweet. For me, I just glaze one side. Okay, I just glaze the one and then I just leave it to cool down. If you're going to take them somewhere, just make sure you cool them down first, okay? I'll just show you the batch that I did earlier. See, if the glaze crystallizes like that, if you can see it crystallize, then you know it's all good to pack, okay? If you pack it while it's still warm, the glaze will melt. Let's have a look at our donuts. As you can see, they're starting to brown. And they're nice and fat, okay? Because once they go into the fry pan, they double. They expand in size. See, those are ready. Those are ready, so I'm just going to take them out. See, look how thick. Look how thick my donuts are. Okay, put that over here. Now I can look, see these other ones here, they've risen. Okay, so I can start putting those ones in there in the fry pan here. I like this colour better than the dark brown. So while that's doing its thing, we'll glaze these donuts here, okay? Okay, so what I do is I just grab one and then I just stew one side and just leave it to cool, see? They're hot, they're hot. Okay, two more. And lucky last. Oh, hot, 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 hot. That was so hot. Okay, and like I said, like I mentioned before, this actually makes 36, depending on the size of your dough. And that is it. Glazed donuts. So what I'll do is I'll break up one for you so you can have a look. That is here. That's a good one. See how it's the glaze has crystallized? Okay, that's a perfect donut right there. Okay, so we'll just break it up. look at that. Okay, that's what it looks like. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's our glazed donuts. Now, if you have any questions about the donuts or any of the baked goods that we've done in the last couple of weeks, feel free to message me. It's really good that a lot of you are trying all the recipes. And like I said before, if you want any of my other recipes that we haven't made, and like I actually do a lot. I actually bake all sorts, but I only do ones that I know my family love to eat. And so, but yeah, if you want recipes for those, just let me know. But otherwise, that's us. Be safe out there and take care. Okay, peace out.